welcome to the Hardacres fan site that is Antique Dust. I'm Jonathan.
and I'm Rob.
And we are dusting down the gorgeous and delicious period drama that is the Hardacres. And we have just watched, is it episode 3?
Episode 3.
Marvellous. Gorgeous. And it's on Channel 5, and we hope it's going to be one of many, many series. We are still waiting with tenterhooks. See what I did there with the hook analogy with the fish and everything.
Wow.
I know. I stab myself sometimes. With if it's been commissioned for series 2. Because they said they would have confirmation by the end of the month of October, and we are coming towards the end of the month of October. So anyway, so we're on episode 3, which didn't disappoint. It was full of comic flair and delightfulness. The Fitzherberts, that the Mr. and Mrs. Snooty from next door, from the Hardacres, Mrs. Fitzherbert, has been asked to host a charity event, a charity tea party with the Duchess of Harrogate.
Duchess of Harrogate, wow.
Gosh, so
Goodness
exciting.
me.
I do actually quite like Harrogate. It was quite pleasant.
We like the tea shop. We like the tea shop.
It's on a very steep hill. It feels like you need a Sherpa to get up the hill.
Yes, we had a very entertaining afternoon once, looking out the window, watching people struggling
to get up
that hill.
For dear listeners, our listeners that live overseas, Betty's Tea Room is a very famous tea room in Yorkshire, and I think there's 2, one in Harrogate and one somewhere else in Yorkshire. That one floods a lot, and the one in Harrogate is. It's in a very, very grand building, and you feel it's very opulent when you walk in. You feel treated like, I don't know, it feels like you are feel like something special. And so you go off the main high street, which is on the corner, but the corner of the high street dips all the way down sort of a very, very steep hill, and there's things of a very historic nature at the bottom of said hill, which is like 1 in 2, and there's lots of tour guides that are taking people down and then taken up through the ornamental gardens opposite the tea rooms. So everyone's like sort of holding themselves while they're going down the hill, and then you're looking at them trying to struggle. And there was quite an interesting thing with someone in the mobility scooter that wasn't quite a hefty person in a mobility scooter.
In an underpowered
mobility scooter.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of The Hills of Harrogate. John is next week.
No, but Betty's Tea Room is very, very lovely, and that is in Harrogate, and it is very, very lovely.
Yeah, and this episode has not been sponsored by Betty's Tea Room.
Or any VPNs.
Or any VPNs or anything of that nature. We can but hope. We can but hope.
If you would like to inbox us, we're on all social media platforms. So anyway, this story starts with Mr. and Mrs. Fitzherbert.
I think that's Lord and Lady rather than Mr. and Mrs.
Yes, Lord and Lady Fitzherbert that are having a conversation in their drawing room. And Lord Fitzherbert says to Lady Fitzherbert, "We don't have the money to pay for this. Why don't you ask the rich neighbours next door if you want to do a collab, because you've got all the social network, they've got all the money and they want friends." And
a collab.
A collab. It was like a period, like 1890s collab.
Okay. Alrighty.
So they do seem a little bit down on their luck, because Lady Adela even commented, "I bet they don't have a leaky roof either."
No.
So they duly went next door to convince the Hardacres to host and pay for said grand charity tea party. Which is quite a nice opening. So we've got Mary Hardacre and Liza. Liza can see straight through this guff, but Mary is sort of wants to be introduced to this type of society. And we know a little bit more about Mary on this episode, because
do we?
Last episode she felt a little bit she'd like let go of all her friends, and she
Well,
was
that's what
like,
it felt
she,
like.
It really felt
like it.
and she was like trying to drag her family kicking and screaming into sort of polite society. But now her general motivations come a little bit to the forefront in the regards to that she really wants her kids to do better than she did, and she wants to give them the opportunities, which I think because it felt a bit rigid last episode with regards to her character development. It went from one thing to another thing, and now it seems to be calming down and sort of relaxing.
More nuanced.
Yes.
Right.
Ma Hardacre. Oh, she's not. Well, she's Ma. We have. She's Ma, Julie Graham. We love you. You're fabulous, and she is coming on the next episode. So it's very excited fanboying. But she is going to be. Well, Mary's going to be hosting her charitable. Charitable shindig. Tea party with the Duchess of Harrogate. She's going to be holding a poker night
down to pub.
Well, no, at Stables.
Stables
with Jimmy Three Fingers and sort of a ragtag bag of
Chinny the Butcher or something.
But she's asking the housekeeper to provide the lobster and
caviar or fish eggs.
Fish eggs. In fairness, I think I'd much prefer the poker night with Mark. Although the Duchess of Harrogate sounded quite fun until we met her. There's a bit more of a development of the meet cute between Mr. Ward, the gamekeeper, and Ma, because she says she's having a poker night. And he invites himself along, and she says,
with a bit of saucy banter.
And he's really enjoying Ma taking no nonsense from the hoity-toity posh housekeeper. So that sort of develops really quite nicely. So you've got two concurrent parties that are going side by side, and Liza is convinced or told that she is going to be singing at said charity do, which makes her have to spend more time with Lady Adela. Now, Lady Adela plays the piano, and Liza is going to sing. And there's obviously, they don't like each other very much. But then we have a scene with the two of them where Liza is, they have a little bit of a contretemps, and where Lady Adela is very sniffy about Liza. And Liza says, "You've not even heard me sing yet." And then she starts into this little sort of ditty, and Lady Adela's quite smitten with regards to the sound of her voice and also the song. And sort of Liza comments that, well, we have to do something to get through the day when we're working on the docks. So, and I heard this song from an aunt who went to a music hall, and she told me about it, and then we sang along. And so it sort of gives a bit of humanity on that respect, of sort of Liza sort of opening up a little bit to Lady Adela. And Lady Adela says, well, it's not all it's
not all fun and games.
Doing what I do. And Liza agrees because she doesn't really like all this whole tea party or having to
so we have
perform.
A moment of rapprochement between them.
Rapprochement. We love that.
We love a bit of French.
Today is brought by the name rapprochement.
Rapprochement.
So their friendship is sort of mimsy and quite.
So I think there's a potential there, but I'm sure there'll be bumps on the road.
There'll be bumpy road. So we then go to the docks where Sam Hardacre has brought along Joe Hardacre. See, I'm getting the names right.
Yeah.
Now. Hooray!
Yeah. You can't see, but we've got a great big blackboard, and I'm pointing. I've got a long pointy stick. That I'm either going to point at the blackboard or I'm going to hit Jonathan with it. And I'm not too fussed either way.
Where the sign Hardcastle and Son.
Hardacre.
No, Hardcastle and Son.
Honestly, talk about falling at the first hurdle. Really.
There was a TV show. Was it Hardcastle?
Yeah, that was an American. Was that an American?
Yeah,
like
Hardcastle
detective thing.
Hardcastle and McCormick. That was it.
What was that?
It's a weird sports car that kept doing stunts and things. I don't know. Okay. But anyway, this is the Hardacres. It's our new favourite show. Other shows.
Yeah. You wouldn't think so, would you? You really wouldn't think so, but hey ho.
So the sign goes up, and we have sort of Daddy Hardacre and
Joe,
Sam Hardacre.
No, it was Sam and Joe.
Sam and Joe, and then we've also got
Fred.
Is it Fred?
It is Fred. I'm not joking. It's honestly Fred.
Sorry, I'm getting befuddled. He's threatening me with his stick in the blackboard.
Yeah.
So we got Fred, who's also a manager of Hardacre and Son, because they've bought on the shipping company for the herring company, and sort of there does seem to be a bit of a contretemps.
So there's a real issue there, I guess. Joe it's very clear that Joe isn't really the manager because he has no experience of managing. So Fred is taking on the bulk of the work, and Joe doesn't like it.
No, he doesn't like it, and he tries to sort of assert his authority
badly.
Because he sort of is in the office meeting, and they're saying, well, I want to sort of increase production, increase salaries, and reduce the hours, because if we can supply them with the appropriate equipment, they can do the job better. And basically, the son goes and reports this to that's like when he's trying to be Johnny Big Balls to the workers. So, well, you're going to work harder, so we're going to cut your hours and blah blah blah, and sort of saying, well, we're going to, and then he takes it in the opposite direction. So, well, we only keep the strongest and the fittest, and then the dad comes in and says, no, we're doing this to make your life easier because we feel you're the best, and we want to make you the best and reward you accordingly. So again, the son is,
well, he's feeling a bit downgraded, shall we say?
Yeah, he does feel very downgraded because it feels he feels as though he hasn't got any purpose or any sort of anything to do. He's been told that he's a manager, but he's not managing anything, and then he's being told that, well, you can't be in charge of the safe because you don't know how to do the books yet, and we've got the sort of the finance guy that's showing him how to do double entry bookkeeping.
Yes,
which he doesn't seem very thrilled about.
Well, who would be? Why would you be thrilled about that?
Rob was an accountant, and I trained as an accountant. Didn't like it. But yeah, so he's got his nose out of joint. In the meantime, sort of Mummy Hardacre is down on the docks, and she sort of reconnects with her friend, and she invites her to the
posh dinner party,
or the tea party, and her friend isn't so convinced, doesn't know anything there, but her daughter Betsy would really like to go, and basically Mummy Hardacre states that, okay, I'll race you for a competition.
Fish gutting competition, which I've never seen one of those before, so that was really interesting.
I was like holding my breath.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to slash a vein or something. And
she was very quick, and
very quick.
She was wearing an apron, so and obviously Mummy Hardacre wins. Hooray! Well done, her. And they are convinced to come along to the party. So in the meantime, while the party organising is happening, Lady Fitzsimmons from
Fitzherbert.
Fitzherbert. I told Rob he needs to help me with
and I'm
these.
helping
It's
you.
not very well.
You got it wrong. I corrected
Well,
you.
Mr. and Mrs. Snooty from next door, Lady Snooty from next door, is busy spending Mary Hardacres' hard-grafted money on posh treats from London and from some outside of the sort of
the provinces.
And so all these flowers arrive, and sort of they've got this sort of iced cake done in the shape of the manor house, and all these very, very luxury goods. And
what can possibly go wrong?
What can possibly the housekeeper is kind of sniffy to one of the maids, because the maid corrects her, so it's Hardacre Hall, not the previous name of the hall, and the housekeeper basically gives her to clear out the lavvy, the sort of outside lavvy.
The stable hand
lavvy,
which I'm sure is delightful and fragrant.
So the maid has got her nose put out of joint, and she gets her little revenge because the little mutty dog,
Ma's little dog.
Yeah, Ma's dog. Suddenly ruins all of the gorgeous, expensive things on the in the kitchen, but we've overrun a little bit there.
You certainly have.
We'll pull it back because the party arrives, and I've got all these hoity-toity ladies in all their finery, and they're sort of discussing various bits and pieces. Mrs. Fitzherbert, Lady Fitzherbert, tries to throw away Betsy and her mum, who have come, saying, "Oh no, we don't need any staff. We've got enough staff." And that's where Mary Hardacre comes in and says, "Oh, these are my friends." And Liza comes in and says to Betsy, "Oh," so shows her a frock, and then Betsy says, "Oh, right, I wish I could have a frock like that." And then so they go off together to borrow one of sort of Liza's frocks, which is a really nice, tender moment. It really is. It's something like a sharing moment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they say, "All join the party," and then in they wheel the Duchess
with her your trumpet.
She just imagine the dowager from Downton, but 4 times the width.
No, don't be rude.
Well, she was a slightly rotund lady,
a larger lady,
a larger lady, and then we have a scene with with Liza and Lady Adela on the piano, and sort of Ma comes in and plonks herself right next door to the Duchess.
Budge up. Yeah. And then Liza notices all the snooty looks on all of these hoity-toity ladies,
and reacts and changes the song to be a little bit of a ruder, a sort of
ribald, shall we say?
She was very bold, and everyone is shocked. But sort of the Duchess of
Malfi? No, that's not right.
The Duchess of Hardacre just claps after they finish. Everyone else claps in
very
unison.
Politely. The moment is saved.
The moment is saved,
but only because she didn't have her ear trumpet,
and
didn't hear the song of "She Sits Amongst the Cabbages and Peas," which is a classic music hall song.
Yeah. So, and I thought that was really quite charming. Because
yeah, but Mary Hardacre doesn't share your view on that.
Well, no, I mean it was in
poor taste.
It would have been in poor taste, but all the other ladies that are the finery are just following the lead. I mean, they're just like sheep, aren't they? But they're just different types of sheep, and I think that's the comparison between the two. So you've got the dock workers that were being spoken down to, but sort of felt that was their pen, and then you've got all these ladies at lunch that are looking up to the people who they feel is a senior and obeying instructions and just clapping along sort of like that. And it's just like that's got quite a lot of meaning, really.
But Mary tears a strip off
Yeah.
Liza.
And says, look, I'm doing this for you, and for doing it. And it's just like, oh, I want you to do better than I did.
You've let me down, you've let yourself down, you've let the whole school down.
Yes.
And speaking of schools...
Yeah, Harry gets dispatched very quickly on the back of it.
Will he be back? Will he be back?
I'm sure he'll be back. I mean, because he's one of the most interesting characters after Ma. And I just don't... exactly. He just got dispatched to school very quickly.
So he's off to boarding school with his top hat and silk stockings, etc.
Yeah.
Off in the back of a carriage, a bit like, when people leave EastEnders in the back of a black cab or something.
The actors done something naughty, so therefore their storyline is
dispatched
they're dispatched suddenly
in a cab.
Yeah. So
mind you, someone left on a bus once, didn't they? Was it Mary the Punk?
Mary the Punk left
She left on the bus, but everybody else leaves in a black cab. But this is a horse and carriage.
Horse and carriage. I would have thought that they would have gone to the school rather with him. I mean, that's my fantasy of the situation where the parents.
Well, that's your fantasy of boarding school.
Well, that's what my friends that went to boarding school sort of. The parents took them there and dropped them off, and you'd have seen the school, and then you would have.
But that's in the days of motor cars, etc., etc. So we don't know how long it's going to take to get to the school, and I'll go all the way there and all the way back. So I don't know.
Well, it's in the county though, isn't it? So
I don't know.
Well, it did say so. It was it was in the county, so it couldn't have been that far.
Yorkshire's quite big.
Yeah, don't we know? It's got lots of windy roads.
And that's a whole other story, listeners. Jonathan's love of windy roads.
Oh, I do love Yorkshire, and we did a whole sort of retrospective of all creatures great and small, like a tour of the sites a couple of years ago, and I did get rather frustrated in the country roads.
Yes, he ended up saying, "Why don't you just build a motorway through the middle of the national park?"
It wasn't quite like that.
Well, it wasn't far off. It wasn't far off.
It just seemed like we got stuck behind every single dithery driver, and that was really, really frustrating. Anyway, we'll go back. We'll touch that in another episode of Johnny and Rob's
Hold that
Yorkshire
thought.
Holidays.
Wish you were here with Johnny and Rob. No, trust me, you don't wish you were
Harry's
there.
been dispatched off to boarding school, and so there's got to be more to that. I mean, he's obviously going to have the crap kicked out of him because he's different and blah, blah, blah. So it's
either going to make him into a proper little gentleman, or it's going to give him PTSD.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Or
possibly both. Don't know.
So party sort of is everyone's whining for the Duchess of Harrogate is whining that she's hungry and she wants a cup of tea, and Lady Fitzherbert is saying, well, where's the food? And that's when it all comes about that the food's been ruined by Snowy the dog. I'm just giving the dog a name.
Yeah. Is it Tilly?
Tilly, yeah. And Mrs. Fitz.
It's not listed on IMDb, so I'm not sure.
It's not on the blackboard. They've not got a name of the dog. So Mrs. Fitzherbert blames the housekeeper. The housekeeper blames the maid.
Well, I think Mrs. What's her name? No, now you're doing it. Now I'm doing it. I'm not trying to remember people's names. It's quite complicated. And I don't want to say the wrong name. Mrs. Dryden. Mrs. Dryden obviously blames the dog and grabs a wooden spoon, presumably to
hit the dog.
To hit said dog. But Ma comes to the rescue of her
picks
dog.
Up the dog. So it doesn't agree with them anyway. All this rich.
I know. I would like to be on the other end of that. That cake and icing.
Yum, yum, yum.
Goodness knows what else. That's not going to be very pleasant for anyone.
So Mary Hardacre takes control of the situation and says, right, okay, let's do this differently. She's not apportioning any blame to anyone. It's something that's happened. Lady Fitzherbert is blaming everybody.
She's beside herself.
And it's just basically they call and set up the one of the reception rooms as a fish stall with fried fish, and they serve fried.
To be fair, that must. I mean, that
That
must have.
reeked.
It must have done. Surely. I mean, they can't have not known what was going on because they must have smelt it. I mean, but I'll suspend my disbelief and all the rest of it. But they must have smelt.
Maybe it all got done from the kitchen and they got
wheeled out.
Got wheeled out because it was in paper, wasn't it? So everyone, sort of the Duchess of Harrogate is given a kipper, or it's given a heron. It's given.
Hey up, love. There you go. Here's your kipper.
So she's given a heron and a little dainty fork.
What's a kipper?
A kipper's a fish.
Yeah, I know it is, but I'm just is it a what kind of fish is it? I'm sure
it's very salty. It's a very salty fish. I used to love kippers. That used to be my treat. I was like,
Alexa, what's a kipper? No,
don't do that. That was my. So when I first moved to Manchester, I didn't really.
Apologies to anyone who's got an Alexa that I've just set it off and it's now telling you what a kipper is. Oops.
No, but I used to have kippers in a brioche bun.
Get you!
I know. That was my little.
Did you wear a beret when you were?
No,
having
it was because when I lived in Manchester, there wasn't many supermarkets around, and when I used to walk home from work, if I wasn't going out to sort of go out to eat somewhere, my go-to thing was I used to get a packet of kippers, some brioche buns or a couple of soft rolls, microwave the kippers just to heat them through and smell the apartment out a little bit.
Yes.
And a packet of 4 Eccles cakes, and that was my dinner.
Right, God, get you, get you, Julia Child.
Yes.
Of course, we did have freshly fried fish in a bun in Istanbul.
Oh gosh, yes, freshly cooked,
freshly caught from the bridge over the Golden Horn.
They
whacked into the shop, fried up. Certain.
I wonder if that's similar to herring, because it was herring because they've served the fish. Because the fish that we had in Istanbul, it came straight out there. They did.
I think it's soft bones.
It's soft bones because they used to stick that straight onto the grill.
Yeah,
and then used to have that in a soft roll.
Yep.
So that
straight
may be
into
what a herring. And that was some herring. Where can you buy herring?
Well, in the supermarket.
So anyway, everyone's.
It's a shame we didn't have a fried herring stall somewhere in the town.
In Dadwich, yes. Maybe we should set that up.
No.
So we have a fried herring.
No. Got enough to do without frying herring. Thank you very much.
But anyway, everyone. So the Duchess of Harrogate really quite likes.
Turns out she likes a kipper.
She likes a kipper. She likes a heron. And everyone else actually quite agrees and think it's a novel idea, and it's something very different rather than the sort of the boring sort of
cucumber sandwiches with the crusts cut off. That's hard to say. Crusts cut off.
So,
well, it's hard for me to say, but I'm Scottish.
So Mary Hardacre is proclaimed as a massive success as a host.
Yes, she was invited to join the
ladies.
The ladies who lunch.
The charitable ladies. And unfortunately, Lady Fitzherbert, his nose is put well and truly out of joint because she's about to do an acceptance speech.
Yes.
Thinking it's all about her because she was meant to be the host with the most.
Because she has main character syndrome.
Yes, and basically it's Mrs. Mary Hardacre, and then the ladies at lunch invite her to join the circle, which that's going to cause a bit of a ruction with Lady Fitzherbert because she has no money because her husband hasn't got any money and she's got a very leaky roof, and still got to pay for a dowry to offload Amelia. Is it Amelia? Yeah, it's Amelia, isn't it?
No,
Lady
Adela.
Lady Adela.
Think Adele, but add an E on the end.
Yes. So that's
So we need to rewind a little bit because
there's so much happening.
I know. We're just getting carried away, but we need to rewind a little bit back to the office and the fish.
Yes.
the fish place, and Joe, whose nose is also out of joint.
Joe's nose is completely out of joint because Fred is more of a manager than he is. And when they were doing something with the salaries, giving them 10 shillings extra in the salaries, he saw where the safe key was kept, and his nose is out of joint because Fred is in control of the wages and the key. So he has a set to, after his nose is put out of joint, goes to the safe and he takes some rolls of notes out of the safe and puts it in the top drawer of Fred's desk.
Yeah, so he's being set up to look like he is a thief.
Yes, but he isn't. So that is sort of, he's setting him up to fail. There is a resolution between Fred and
so they have a moment. Fred and Joe have a moment of rapprochement. Is the word of the day? Rapprochement. And they shake hands.
And you can tell that Joe's going to go back and put the money back, but by that time,
it's too late.
Yes,
and Callum has already
sort of found
discovered the missing money.
And so that's how the episode ends. But we have also missed, which we have to mention, because Julie Graham, who plays Ma, has the poker game.
Yeah.
She's winning at poker, and Mr. Ward, the gamekeeper, is there. And you can
along
tell
with thingy three fingers
and Johnny
and Chinny the butcher and Uncle Tom Cobley.
Yes.
And all.
And Ma is one at poker or whatever card game they're playing, and Mr. Ward said, "Let me shake your hand."
Very firmly.
And shakes his hand, and all these cards come out of her.
Because she's a dirty, rotten cheat.
And they all say, "Oh, how long have you been cheating us?" She says, "For the last 20 years."
How long? Yeah. How long have we been playing?
Which, the comic relief in it is just really, really just brilliant. And I just really, Mr. Ward and Ma just think he gets her and stands up to her, but not in a sort of a naughty boy, but he just gets her.
Yeah.
And I think Ma quite likes that.
Oh, I think she's not. I don't think she minds Mr. Ward.
And there is a moment between Adela.
Well, there's a couple of moments involving Joe. So there's Joe and Betsy. And clearly Betsy has a little bit of a thing for Joe, and it seemed that they had a sort of a mutual thing. And then Adela notices and comes bustling over and takes charge and
does her lady thing.
Yeah, it's her lady thing.
Well, it's sort of like batters her eyelids and things like that.
So there seems to be a little bit of a love triangle brewing.
Yeah. So I mean, Betsy's nose is put out of joint. Adela's
there's lots of noses out of joint in this episode.
There's lots of broken noses. Plastic surgery in North Yorkshire, or Yorkshire, would probably be very, very popular. But I mean, because the thing is, Adela is aware of the financial predicament of her family, about there not being as much money around, and knows that the Hardacres do have pots of money.
So are you suggesting that Adela's interests in Joe might not be entirely how it seems?
Yes, I think she's been taught by her mummy to sort of go for wealth, status, and what have you.
And the fact he's good looking as well. That's not going to...
There is that sort of chemistry. But Betsy does get Joe.
What do you mean?
Well, I think understands him.
Oh, I see. I thought you were spoiling the future storyline.
No. But
she understands him.
They have a common entity where I think Adela would probably drop him as soon as
someone wealthier comes along.
Someone better or of a higher standing will come along, because but it's just so delicious. So we've got 3 more episodes to go,
and then we'll be bereft.
But we have done this episode a little bit later because we got a little bit delayed because we're both on a training course. We're getting a pub. so our lives will be dedicated to being podcasting and pub.
We might launch a pub podcast.
A pub podcast.
A pubcast.
A pubcast. For a quiz, a pub quiz podcast. Oh gosh, now Rob's idea.
No, the noise you can hear it's just my eyes rolling. That's all.
So dear listeners,
so we covered everything.
I think we have covered everything in this episode.
There was a lot in the episode. It was an action pack.
It was an action pack. So the first episode was we didn't have a montage. So I'm very disappointed.
That's
no montage.
True. No montage.
I mean, they could have done a bit of a sort of a sandwich making montage on preparation, and they missed a trick on that. So the producer Alex, if you want to remix this with a bit of a sort of a culinary corner montage,
yeah, just call all the cast back. and record a montage, please.
We do like a montage. However, it rollicks along, and that's what I love about this, because it doesn't drag. Where some of these period pieces, when we watched, although I do love sort of period pieces, when we watched Brideshead Revisited, the original series, the first couple of episodes are really, really good and they're content filled. The rest of them seem to have they sort of like a bit laborious, and it's like. You just feel like
But then, as we always say, that's how telly was made back then, quite differently from how telly's made now, because thanks to social media and YouTube, we all have the attention span of a fruit fly.
What was the podcast again? We have got 3 more episodes to go, which we're very excited. Our next episode, we have got the lovely Ma coming on, Julie Graham, who's a big fan of the Antique Dust podcast. So you can find us on all social media platforms at Antique Dust. There is a fan site that we've set up on Facebook, which is the Hardacres fans. So if you want to share any of your knowledge or tidbits or anything that's sort of Hardacre related, please do let us know. In the meantime, this is Jonathan signing off.
And this is Rob saying goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.